Kasia Walicka Mamione, costume designer for the Gilded Age. Season two's costumes and hats just got bigger and bigger. What was the discussion like about the approach for season two now that you've gotten a season under your belt and you know all the characters?
I think that with each season, it's a new learning process. I've never done such a long project with the opportunity of building on previous knowledge. So the season two was this incredible opportunity of diving deeper into the historical research and building upon that knowledge that we had from season one. And I feel like I just kept learning more and discovering the period further and building on the characters' journey.
Mhm. Well, this season two opens with a bang with an Easter celebration, and I'm saying just so many different congregations, and you have the main cast and background actors and gigantic hats once again. And what did you learn about Easter and Easter costuming, I guess, in 1880s New York in your research, and how did you develop all the aesthetics for and silhouettes for everyone?
I think that the opening of the second season, it's this challenging moment of creating a spectacle. We knew that as the opening of the season of a show called Gilded Age, it needs to deliver the spectacular glamour. And Easter was such an incredible opportunity. So I just started from the material that is on the page, which is the Easter celebration. We knew that in the 1880s and for many years after, the Easter was a celebration that was an enormous spectacle. We didn't have that much documentation from 1880s, but had a lot of documentation from later years, which was also extremely informative. It looked like the whole town was going to celebrate Easter, and the sizes of the hats from the historical research was just extraordinary, enormous. And a lot of the times I felt that it would be almost hard to believe that that was the size that was worn by the ladies of that period. But the historical research was proving this over and over again, that the scope was that extraordinary. And then it was all about creating the feeling and the colors and of Easter and the celebration and the opportunity for the society to show off, to present to create their fashion show that was ending up on the streets and causing this giant spectacle and admiration from everybody around them. So I think that was the starting point with the Easter celebration.
Mm-hmm. It made me think about like how nowadays you don't really see big hats anymore. Like it's most people just wear small hats, and it's not, or maybe except at the Kentucky Derby, but it feels like like people just downsize in hats. But back then it was just like we need to show off like our wealth almost.
Yes, there was, of course, it's humanity. So there is a variety of sizes of what people felt comfortable, but the style of the period was quite a lot of those hats were extraordinarily big. And that's what I chose for creating this drama of the moment that was the opening of the series. We still see sometimes, like in Brooklyn, in some areas of Brooklyn, for Easter, you do still see those incredible Easter hats. There are still moments of celebration that last till the remnants of it last till today. So it's this motive that I feel like we had such a privilege to dive into in the 1880s and create the spectacle. I mean, definitely it was a journey discovering the hats. In the first season, I think I was more restrained with exploring the sizes of the hats, but the more that I looked at the research, I thought there was so much, the sizes actually in the period were just enormous. So as we were starting the trial period for the second season, I created some hats with our milliners that were so tall that they barely fit through the door frames. And during the camera test, where you realized that it went way too far and had to chop them back to to smaller sizes. But then I think we found the framework of what was acceptable in the period and what delivers that incredible glamour that the ladies were seeking.
Yeah, for sure. And it fits in the frame too. One thing I love about the show is just your use of color, and it feels almost modern and experimental. And what you were saying before, like you didn't have a lot of color photography back then, and I love some of the color combos you use with like brown and blue, and like Bertha, she often wears a lot of like yellow, but not bright yellow. So how did you experiment, I guess, like with all these color combos for these characters?
The main inspiration came from paintings. Like I studied a lot of the visual materials from the period, which was anything that we could discover from the period. But for sure, a giant influence came from the paintings, and that color combination of this like citrusy yellow, greenish yellow combined with browns, that came from paintings. A lot of the color combinations were so unusual, but they also came from historical research of dresses from several collections of museums, which are extraordinarily well documented these days. COVID, in some ways, that was one positive thing about COVID, how it helped us because so many of the collections got digitized and we had access to collections in museums all over the world that normally we would not have access. That became the standard and the norm of all the museums, and kept discovering those color combinations and kept discovering the unusual, what seems to be unusual combinations of colors. I definitely dove deeply into the discovery of what existed in the period. This was a time of discovery of artificial dyes, and I think there was such a celebration of color. But a lot of the times I feel that colors in each period are inspired also by nature. I did take a bit of liberty by being inspired by nature combinations when it needed the combinations of hats and dresses needed a little bit more of a support from outside sources. So I tried to stay as close as I could within the period norms, but at the same time, knowing that we're creating this fictional story and we need to create excitement and glamour, I did rely on some inspiration from nature as support of color combinations.
Mm-hmm. This season, we also saw the return of Bertha, who or Turner, who was Bertha's maid, and she's now Mrs. Enid Winterton. So I imagine that it must be fun designing sort of a new look for a character who's now of a different status. So how did you develop Turner's season 2 silhouette?
That was a really fun character to design. We knew that Enid, former Enid, Karen Winterton, was an advisor to Bertha. She already traveled between so many houses of high-end houses, and she was her fashion advisor. So we knew that she had this innate knowledge of what were the fashion standards. She also was breaking into the traditional level of society. So I decided to create this quite conservative version of super sexy Bertha that stays within the norm of society, at the same time uses her power of seduction to gain her social status. So I chose pale colors and very sophisticated, elegant forms, at the same time quite high buttoned and very structured and quite symmetrical. Unlike Bertha, who explores a lot of the organic forms and very very courageous combinations. In it stays within the very pale and subtle levels of seduction.
Mhm. And you are currently working on season 3 right now. It's in production. So what can you tease about the new season? What kind of costumes can we expect? New color combos?
We keep discovering. We're right now in Troy. I am in the production office. We just arrived here 3 days ago. It is always an exploration. It's so much fun to discover the worlds that Julian Fellows gives us on the page and visualize this incredible journey. It's such a fun historical discovery of the worlds of people, of characters, of circumstances. So it's a continuous diving into history and then supporting it visually, the creating representation of those spectacular moments. I think it's continuously building upon the knowledge of season 1 and season 2. I feel like every time you're given this opportunity of building further, you just have bigger knowledge. So I hope that will be new, exciting things coming out of it. I'm not quite probably ready to disclose a lot of the information, but it definitely, the exploration is happening.
More hats, bigger hats.
They'll be they
Probably.
will be bigger than last season. I think we've reached our limit.
Every season, bigger
Yeah.
hats. All right. Kasia, it was great speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you back here in a little bit. Thank you.